In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. I'm your host, Charles King. I want to start tonight's show off with a Black History reflection of Dr. Claude Anderson, the architect of Powernomics. Before we welcome our guests, let us take a moment to ground tonight's episode in the wisdom of one of the most important economic thinkers in Black American history, Dr. Claude Anderson. Born on September 2nd, 1936, Dr. Claude Anderson came of age during the height of American racial segregation, a period when Black Americans were systemically excluded from the economic systems that were building the wealth of white America. Rather than accept that exclusion as permanent, Dr. Anderson spent his life studying, documenting, and strategizing against it. Dr. Anderson earned his doctorate in education from Wayne State University and began his career in public service and education. In the 1970s, he served as the state coordinator of education for Florida under Governor Reuben Askew, navigating the turbulent era of desegregation. He then played a critical role in President Jimmy Carter's 1976 Florida campaign, helping deliver the state, and was subsequently appointed federal co-chairman of the Coastal Plains Regional Commission, a position equivalent to assistant secretary in the U.S. Department of Commerce. In this role, he chaired economic development commissions and directed funding for job-creating businesses across the southeastern states. As executive director of two economic development corporations in Miami, Florida, Dr. Anderson oversaw the funding of more than 30 Black-owned businesses. He also served as a major planner and coordinator for the 1988 Democrat National Convention in Atlanta. But it is his intellectual and economic legacy that sets him apart. Dr. Anderson is the president and founder of Powernomics Corporation of America, Incorporated, and the Harvest Institute, a nationally recognized think tank dedicated to research, policy development, education, and advocacy aimed at increasing the self-sufficiency of Black America. His landmark publications include Black Labor, White Wealth, A Search for Power and Economic Justice in 1994, a searing critique of how the systemic exploitation of Black labor built white wealth while leaving Black families in perpetual economic servitude. Powernomics, the national plan to empower Black America in 2001, a comprehensive economic blueprint teaching Black Americans how to pool resources, produce goods, build wealth, and achieve competitive self-sufficiency. More Dirty Little Secrets About Black History, co-authored with his son, Brant Anderson, challenging mainstream historical narratives and elevating the documented contributions of Black Americans. Dr. Anderson's Powernomics philosophy is built on the foundational truth: wealth is not built by individuals alone, it is built by organized groups who control production, distribution, and consumption within their own communities. He rejected the idea that Black Americans should integrate themselves into a broken system and instead advocated for a deliberate, strategic, and unapologetic focus on Black group economics. His message is simple, powerful, and urgent. Until Black America controls land, businesses, capital, and institutions in a competitive way, economic freedom will remain elusive. Tonight's conversation with Carlton O. Hoskins stands on the shoulders of Dr. Anderson's vision. Because when we talk about retirement planning, wealth strategies, and intergenerational financial transfer in the Black community, we're not just talking about money. We're talking about power. We're talking about legacy. We're talking about liberation. Black Americans must decide whether they want to be a competitive group or a permanent beggar group in America. That's Dr. Claude Anderson. So now let me take the time so I make sure I can introduce our guest for you. I want to welcome you all to America in Black and White, the show that takes a clear, honest, and unapologetic look at the world we live in, the history that shaped us, the strategies that will define our future. And tonight, we're continuing a conversation that this nation desperately needs to have. We're living in a time when wealth inequality is not just a talking point. It is a lived reality for millions of Black families across this country. We work hard, we build, we sacrifice, and yet too often we retire broke, we leave nothing to our children, and the cycle continues. But tonight's guest is here to help us break that cycle. One conversation, one strategy, one informed decision at a time. Before we bring him out, I want to acknowledge something important. Financial education is not just a luxury. It is a necessity. It is survival. Our ancestors were legally prevented from building wealth. Our grandparents were redlined out of home ownership. Our parents were sold bad loans in predatory markets. We did not end up behind by accident. It was by design, but tonight is about the redesign. We have a gentleman joining us who has dedicated his career to helping individuals, families, and businesses, particularly in the Black community, understand how to organize, build, protect, and transfer wealth. He holds some of the most respected designations in the financial services industry. He is a chartered financial consultant, a retirement income certified professional, and a financial advisor with Edward Jones. He is based right in the heart of South Carolina, and he's making waves across this country. Tonight, we're going to talk about his journey, his purpose, his strategies, and his vision for what financial freedom looks like in the Black community. So sit back, get your notepad ready, because this is the kind of conversation that can literally change your financial trajectory. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to America in Black and White, Mr. Carlton Hoskins. Hello, sir.
Hi, how are we doing?
I'm doing just excellent. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. Glad to be here, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm glad that you're here. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we jump into the show?
Well, first, from that intro, I think there's a lot that we can dig into. When you talk about financial freedom, it's financial literacy. And financial literacy, the problem is sometimes we put a color on it. There isn't a color on financial literacy. 1 + 1 = 2. What we need to put on is how do we possess and pass literacy? Let's not allow others to teach each other. Let's learn and teach our children so that they learn. So let's really dig into what financial literacy can be, how it empowers you, because the biggest power is to pass on that intergenerational wealth to the next generation.
So, like I start all shows, I'd like to give the audience the opportunity to learn a little bit more about you as we get into the great things that you're going to be talking about today.
Sure.
This, I like to call it your life story. Welcome to America in Black and White. And if you can you please tell us who is Carlton Hoskins at the core? And who are you beyond the titles and the credentials?
So at the core, I would say I am a father, a husband, a grandfather, papa, as he says. I am a person who is grounded in his faith and his beliefs, and who in his core cares about people. So that's who I am.
So, where did you grow up, and how did your upbringing shape the man and the professional you've become today?
So I grew up in Durham, North Carolina. So I'm actually from North Carolina. One of the biggest impacts on my life was my grandfather, Mr. James Ed Hoskins. He had to be a janitor. Like there weren't a lot of options for African Americans at the time, but he also owned homes. So he was able to own his own home. He was able to use the structures that were around to do the things he needed to do to provide for his family. So that's where I got into, hey, what do you do as a man, first of all, in leading the family? And then that moves on to me seeing, my father move and other people in my family move and create. So then it lets me know that there's possibility. As a kid, I wanted to be a corporate lawyer because they wore suits. Like it was just, you're a young kid in the city, you don't really get it, but hey, the guy wears a suit to work and I want to do that. And then progressing through life, I found all the other avenues going toward that desire and ended up here.
So, when you were a young man, did you imagine yourself in the world of finance? What was the dream back then?
So I did not. The key to finance actually came from a conversation. My freshman roommate, we were on the phone. I was transitioning from my previous career, and I was like, I'm not really sure where I want to go. And I was looking at going to A&T, getting my master's, and he was like, hey, why don't you move to New York and become a financial advisor? I was like, I never thought about that, but we talked about stuff. We talked about all these things. I've done all these things. I already had accounts, but I never saw it as a job. Because at that time, when I saw or envisioned anyone as a money person, a financial advisor, I had a picture of an old white man. That was a person who had to do that job. But I never thought it was possible for me until he just asked me that question nonchalantly. It wasn't an intent. It's like, hey, why don't you just do this? So that led me down the road to think, well, maybe I can do this. And so that led to the first step, which got me here.
So tell us about your educational journey at North Carolina Wesleyan College. What did that experience mean to you, and what did you carry out of that institution?
So, again, I'm from Durham, North Carolina. I went to an all-black high school, and I transitioned to a predominantly white college, private school. That transition showed me that you need to be grounded in who you are no matter where you are. That to achieve anything, it starts with you. So when we talk about how do you move in this world, how do you navigate, how do you build a business? You build that business through communication, through conversations, through interaction. But if you don't know you, and you're not proud of you, how can you work or talk to someone else? How can you ask them to do business with you? So it empowered me because I was, hey, sometimes the only black guy in the class, which was fine. That's not the issue. The issue is how do you move? How do you control inside your internal power and use that to go forward?
So were there financial conversations happening in your household growing up? Was money talked about openly, or was it like just a taboo subject?
I would say both. Because, you're in a black household, some people are going to talk money, some people aren't. Now, my grandfather, we talked money privately a lot. And then mostly family, grown folks business. And that's one of the things I tell my clients, we need to get rid of the words grown folks business. When you are growing, whatever you're doing, your child's going to watch. When we talk about financial literacy, it's how are you spending your money, not what are you going to tell your child to do. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck, they're going to live paycheck to paycheck. If you haven't instilled a budget, they won't instill a budget. So it's one conversations, but it's also actions. It's bringing your children into the actions that you do. A lot of my clients, I tell them I want to work with you, your parents, and your children. And they're like, well, why? Because your understanding of wealth comes from there. And I want to make sure that the impact we have here is felt on your children's understanding of wealth. Because everything that we do is for everyone that we care about. And that's really where mine starts and how I'm moving in my business.
So you mentioned your grandfather earlier. Can you tell us what were some of those things as an entrepreneur that he taught you when it came to the business perspective and how to make things happen? What is the one thing that he taught you that you still carry with you today?
So there's some words that you're using that he was kind of against. He wanted me to be me, unapologetically, fiercely, and independently, which is the core of what I do. I just didn't know it then.
Okay.
To be proud of my family, to be proud of myself, to be proud of what I see in the mirror. You be proud, because he was proud of me. And that pride is intergenerational. That pride is legacy. So it's not just, hey, go do this XYZ thing. It is the core of when you meet me, the personality that comes out is I love me because I was taught to love me.
Right.
And being able to do that allows me to move in many different scenarios, many different areas, to work with all types of people and find what's important to them because I can care enough about me to care about them.
So, if you could tell us, what are some of the defining moments or turning points that redirected your life's trajectory towards financial services? Because you said initially that was not your thought.
It was not. But it really anchors into one conversation. So I was transitioning careers. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, man, I'm gonna go back to school. I'm gonna go kind of live life, take a sabbatical. I'm going to exist. And so I called my freshman roommate who that's just the guy, that's one of my main go-tos. Hey, there's something going on, I'm having a conversation with him. And he heard me, he listened to me, and he goes, okay, now I know you on another level. So my question to you is, why don't you do this? So to know me, to understand, when you ask me, why don't I do something? I'm more than just going to answer. I'm going to figure out, well, why can't I? Is there something stopping me? Is there a block in my way? Because like I said, I love me, so I need to be empowered to take those things. So it wasn't just, well, I'm going to listen to him and not interact. Hey, let me dig into this and see why he even said that to me in the first place. What about me made that impactful? So then you go out. My first interview was the reason I'm here. It was horrible. And when I tell you it was horrible, it was, I think, the worst interview I had ever had in my life. And I had to go home and reprocess and rethink, what do I want to do? Like I stuttered, I didn't have, like there was no motivation. I was just there because somebody said it's probably something I should do. So I went home. I did not get the job, mind you. So I go home and then I start to consider, what does this job do? What am I trying to do? What does it mean to be a financial advisor for anyone? What's the impact? And then I start to see it. And then I start to look at myself. So without an appointment, without any kind of phone calls, I go back to where I had my interview, fully dressed for an interview, came in, knocked on the door, actually have a conversation and explained that I would be the world's best financial advisor if you gave me that opportunity right now, because I now know why I should be doing this. Now, that led to so many interactions within this industry with people who look like me, people who don't look like me, who just saw that energy and fire in me on helping me understand how to move. Understanding that you have to work. You're working to help people. The people that need help don't really want it. Everybody has their own vision of, oh my God, this is what you're going to do. Now, we want to talk about the Black community, especially, we have a vision of, oh my God, this is what, you just want to take my money and da, da, da. And so it's working past everyone's mental stereotypes. It's working past what people think you do to get them to understand that what you do and how you help. And there's nothing like, I will tell you, there's nothing like meeting someone who tells you they would never retire. And in 2 years, having them retired comfortably and staying retired. because you were able to show them those things they couldn't see.
So, can you describe the moment you knew, or was it that moment that you just mentioned, that without a shadow of a doubt that this was your calling? And if so, what was that clarity like?
Okay, so the moment I knew was the first time I did not get my client. It was my very first meeting. The guy came in, he told me what he had, and I kind of froze. I knew I was unprepared, and I was working with someone else. So when the meeting ends, and the meeting wasn't the issue, it was when I spoke to the person I was with, and they asked me, "This, yes, is a business you can make money, but do you care what happens to the people that you talk to?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Do you care? I don't care if they got $1 or 100 million. Do you care about the person that you're talking to? Because if you don't, then this isn't for you. If you don't have the care, the space to care about people, about what your information does for their life, then this is not your industry." And that, I think, was a turning point, because I do realize that I care. I do want to make sure people are where they want to be. I want to move them forward. I want them to see that bright light at the end of a hard-working tunnel, that you can not only enjoy your retirement phase, you can transition wealth to your children. You can do all these things. Someone needs secure enough to help you do it.
So, what does success mean to you? Not the industry definition, but your personal soul level definition.
So success for me is quality time with my family. It's not money. We make money. All people can go out and make money. You can go out and make money if you want to work and make money. You can't make time. You can't make the conversations, the memories. You can't make that without it being a focus of your life, without it being a focus of what you want to achieve. So for me, success is not only being able to go to work, but then being able to go home and take time and travel with my wife, travel with my grand, travel with my kids, spend that time with my family, and make those memories that are irreplaceable.
So let's talk a little bit about your career journey and your professional evolution. Walk us through your career path from early days in financial services through Scottrade, Wells Fargo, and your return to Edward Jones. What lessons defined each chapter?
So the first chapter, actually, I started with Ameriprise Financial. That was more of a sea legs. Hey, this is something real. Like this, there is not just numbers. 1 + 1 = 2, but there's emotion, there's heart that goes along with this. Moving towards Scottrade, I also began to teach advisors. I began to help mold people, mold the future. And I learned that instilling not just an understanding of the markets, but an understanding of what people are looking for, what someone wants to achieve matters. Listening to people. So, for example, when I meet someone, the first conversation is not about how much money you have. It's about you. Because I understand now that unexpected and unforeseen are the things that cause you not to achieve your goals. And unexpected and unforeseen aren't a number thing. So like if you're driving a car and you get a flat tire, you know you got to buy a flat tire. That flat tire was unexpected, right? You didn't foresee it, but you have a car, so you have some money, so you got the tire. What I'm talking about is when you're in retirement and you're living your life and you know you got your parents and you got your kids, but your uncle who you truly love is sick and you want to help him. If you never had that conversation with your financial advisor, with the person who manages your money, to have something there for some people that you care about that are not direct family, how do you help without impacting your future? And that's something that I've seen, and it really anchored into me coming to the person that I am and starting in those places. So I hope that helps understand like the journey and why I am in love with what I do.
So that decade that you spent at Scottrade, what did that decade teach you about leadership, client relationship, and the business of finance?
Oh man, that it's a business. That responsibility is earned, but also a weight. And that clients are not a monolith. That they're not one thing. They're not one race. They're not one anything. It does. Everybody is completely and 100% who they are, and you need to take the time to learn that before you move forward. For example, if you meet a client and they say, "Hey, I have $100 million," cool. You're thinking all these other things, but you haven't said, "Well, what does that mean to you?" So I think that decade there taught me to understand that learning and communicating with people about what's important to them is way more important than just taking somebody's money. It taught me that education, it taught me about financial literacy. It taught me that all those things that I love to do are so important to everyone. Because as I said, you can go make money, but making money is not transitioning money. It's not using money. It's not understanding how money works in other areas. It's making money.
So can you tell us that after learning this and having all of this, pointing up in the ascending direction of greatness, is this when you got to the point of knowing how you were going to set the standard for your own firm as to how you would be dealing with your clients, your business, how you would recruit, how you would do the transactions, all of those good things?
So it was a stepping stone. Mm-hmm. I think, and my experiences at Wells Fargo right after this helped me with clarity. The transition was to be closer to home, to be in an environment where I was 10, 20 minutes from my wife. The kids were driving. So, it was really, how do we spend that time together that's as important. But it was a transition to a completely different style. Not bad, not good, just different. And it gave me the ability to compare on, well, what do I think should be the right way to move? And then that allowed me to go, hey, I don't just chase money. I want to work with people who want to work with me. I want to work with people who have a desire or goal, because that's important to me. How I feel when I help somebody achieve is that thing. That's that thing you chase. For me is, hey, we've done those things you wanted to achieve. You're at a point and place where you wanted to be. You've dreamt. Now you're here. Hey, you've earned and built this massive wealth, and now we're able to pass it on to your children in the best way possible for you and for them. Those are things that they don't have a number to them. You can't make them up. They're experiences. And to achieve those experiences are really that's my driver now. I got there by going, hey, this is 1, this is 2. Okay, this is how the market works. All right, well, Scottrade is teaching. I'm learning options. I'm learning how to talk to people. You go to Wells Fargo, there's a different interaction. Well, what result do I want? And that result was the feeling of helping people achieve. So that's kind of what led me to getting to this particular, how I'm running this practice.
So what was it about Edward Jones that felt like home to you? What drew you back?
Oh, man, felt like home. So when you start anywhere, you're nervous. I'd say that first 6 months, a year, am I going to be successful? Are people going to talk to me? This is on my shoulders to build something. And I'm sure like it's on your shoulders to build something. And you continue to build and you continue to move. But that was the joy. That was awesome. It still is awesome. It's me going out here and saying, hey, I'm going to do this every day. Rain, shine, snow, sleep. Every day I'm going to go out here and I'm going to do what I love.
So can you tell us, what has it meant for you to build your own practice in Belton? And was it significant of being a financial advisor deeply rooted in a community that is sometimes overlooked?
So I'm going to take that and really use it because this is a passion of mine. So I could be in a large city
Right.
I could be in a big city in a big sky rise, and I could be, part of the team, and we could. That doesn't mean that people in Belton don't need that same information. It doesn't mean, hey, I don't think you have to go all the way an hour here, 2 hours there. But at the same time, I work with people in other states, Maine, California, New York, Florida, because I want to work with people that want to have a conversation, who interact with me because I interact with them. And that's something that you don't get a lot of times. 1 + 1 = 2. There's not a new stock market that they got that I can't get. There's no private market things they can get I can't get. I can do everything anybody else can do. But at the same time, we can sit down and just talk about it. Right. You don't feel pushed, impressed, empowered. I learned a long time ago that we have a wonderful jargon, and our jargon is amazing. But if I speak to you in my jargon, I do you no good. I bring you no benefit, and I give you no power. I want you to understand what we do, not because I need you to do it, but because I work for you, because I want you to be comfortable. I want you to understand when I say, hey, we're going to make these moves. It's not, oh no, but why? And you don't say anything, you figure it out at home, and you're like, I understand why we're doing this. Thank you very much. So hopefully that answers the question, because that's something that's very powerful to me, because I think a lot of times everyone thinks you have to go to this place to get information, and you overlook people who want to give you information, people who want to grow you, people who want to do these things for you because they're not in the big city. I hold all the credentials of the big city, but I want to give it to you in a way that works for you, a way that allows you to be empowered, or a way that grows you and moves for your family. So.
Now I'll tell you what I thought was really cool after we had our conversation is that to know that you're bringing financial services to that small town. But as you're saying, a lot of people don't think that the small town is in need of those kind of services. And so when you just think that you are able to put something there, not just tangible, but something there to help those people to know, as you say, you ain't got to go to Charlotte.
Yep.
I'm right here. So when you did that, was that intentional, or was that one of the things that when you thought about your life and your business, you wanted to make sure that you had the right demographic, the right community? These people need these services. How did we get there?
Okay, so the first thing we're going to say is I was looking at 2 places. One was Hodges, South Carolina, which is smaller than Belton.
Oh, wow.
So my desire was never to be in a large city. I didn't think I needed that. It wasn't that, hey, I need to find the right people that look like me. I need to find a 90% Black community. None of that was a thing. I wanted to find a place where people were hardworking, where people wanted more, and I wanted to be part of helping people.
That is really wonderful. So, can you tell us, how has your approach to advising your clients evolved from the beginning of your career to today?
So, in the beginning, you're numbers based. You are trying to prove you know something by moving money and talking about the performance. Now I understand more about what people need. The performance is one thing. You need to perform. Of course, you need your money to grow. That's what we do. But why and how? So I like to do things personally. I talk about what I did, and this is how it allows me to talk about people. So, my children all went to college, graduation. Some didn't graduate, whatever. But they went. When they went, we paid. We helped facilitate their education. Now, before they went, we traveled around in the States, me, my wife, and the kids. But my goal was always to travel more. So the plan was, for this money that I was spending right now for education, the long-term play with that, but that was our travel money. It wasn't going to come back to me for retirement. That was another plan already put in place. It wasn't going to go to bills. There was another plan. I was planning for a goal that was not there, that had to have things happen to achieve. So that's what I bring to my clients. You have these goals, and we look at them like, hey, my budget this month, what I want to achieve this week. I've got $5 million. I want to leave this to my kids. I've sold my business. Great. But what really is at the core of that? What is the important thing about all of that for you so that I can really take you where you want to be?
So tell us, how do you stay current in an industry that is constantly evolving, from tax law to market conditions to new financial products?
Oof, man. Always reading, always learning, always watching. So my designations, some of them are maybe a year old. I'm always learning. I plan on adding new ones as the industry evolves. I stay up to date in different circles of information and industry through different communications and connections that I have. So due diligence meetings, things of that nature. So you're always looking at what that next thing is. I'm not a tax preparer. Okay. I'm not a tax professional, but I stay up to date on tax law. I communicate with CPAs. You know, when I have my larger clients, I bring a team in. That's when we bring the alphabet soup, the CFAs, your CPAs, all these people. So I also have a team of people, each one with a job to stay focused on things that I don't do. My job is not to know everything, but it is to quarterback.
So let's go over to your work in financial education and literacy. So first of all, can you tell us, why is financial literacy so critically important, and why do you believe the Black community in particular has been underserved when it comes to financial education?
Okay, financial literacy, simply put, is how you spend, use, and save your money. If you do not know how to do that, there is not much anyone can do to help you. So
Absolutely about that.
If you don't understand a budget, how can you build? Doesn't mean you can't make money. You can make $1 billion and not know how to budget. You can make $1 billion and not know how to move it to your children the correct way. So what we need to learn is, how does financial literacy work? How do we budget? How do we control our finances? How do we control our spending? We teach that to children at a young age so that they start doing what we're doing and mimic us. We talk about empowerment and wealth. That's not a racial thing. White, black, orange, purple, green, everybody wants to empower themselves, but we need to have an understanding of how. It's not just making the money, because if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know how to manage it, if you don't know how to hold on to what you've made, it's like putting water in a colander. It's just running right out. So that financial literacy is that stopgap. It's that piece of paper that says, hey, this is how you hold on to this. This is how you work with people who can help you do different things. So that's why it's important to me.
So tell our audience, when you mentioned the budgeting and the parts of literacy, tell us about how most people should maybe think about starting to budget and how to manage it.
So there are a couple of things. Definitely feel free to reach out. But the first thing is understanding the percentages of how you want to budget. All right. There's a standard 50, 30, 20 that I kind of get in my office, get to my clients, and hey, take a look at this and see how you feel. Give it to your kids while they're younger and go. So, hey, if you take a 15-year-old who's living at home and you say, I want you to live on a 50, 20, 30 budget. 50% of your income, I want that to be for your everyday living. So what do you have to pay? Mortgage, power, it's 15. They don't have that, but they have some standard things they have to take care of. 20%, that's going to be your savings and debt. So if you owe me some money, you'll take it out of that 20%. What you put in savings is 20%. And then your lifestyle will be 30%. So if you want to go to the movies, it comes out of this money. And you let them manage that from 15 to 16. Now, since they don't have debt, that 20% should be savings. That's an easy number for you to take a look if they're working. Hey, do you have this? Wait, well, help me understand what happened. Let's talk about this. What can we do to keep you here? So that's using financial literacy. That's the same thing that my parents, adults, business owners are looking at, managing that money, shrinking it to a small scale, getting it to your youth, and having them use it to go forward.
So, how do you explain complex financial concepts like asset allocation, compound interest, or tax deferred growth in ways that are accessible, relatable, and empowering for everyday families?
Well, it's really about first understanding. So, when you talk about asset allocation, what we're talking about is the mix of what you have. Okay, so there's this thing that people say is, I don't want all my eggs in one basket. And so I help them understand, well, if the stock market is really the basket, your eggs are already in it. It doesn't matter if they're at Edward Jones and at Charles Schwab and at Merrill Lynch, they're in the basket.
Right.
The important thing is the person who is holding that basket for you, do they know what they're supposed to do with it? Do they know where to put that egg when it's done? Do you want this egg to go to your mom? You want this egg to go to your son? Do they know how you want it? And then do they know how to do it for you? Are they listening?
That's the key term, listening.
Correct. It's a conversation. One of the things I tell my clients, I don't want you to give me that glazed look. Now, for anybody out there, if you've ever been to a financial advisor and he spoke to you completely in jargon, and he talked about diversification and the 60-40 rule on the asset allocation, and you just got the nice smile and you looked and you were like, yeah, but you didn't really ask the questions because you didn't know what he was talking about. That's not what I want to do. Let's break down. Look, so we're talking about mutual funds. We're going to break down that basket. That's a basket of stocks. That's what these stocks do. It's a basket too. I don't need you to do it, but if you understand how I work, if you understand the philosophy about what I'm doing, not only can you excel, you can communicate with others, but you can also have confidence in what I'm doing. I don't need you not to understand it. I need you to understand it so that you support me when I'm doing work for you.
So, talk to us about the relationship between financial literacy and self-worth. Why do so many people feel shame around money conversations?
I think people feel shame around money conversations, not just because of, I think, internal comparisons to others, but I think it's because we aren't open about money. We are very secluded about money in our own family. If you, as a son, can't talk to your dad about money, you're never going to talk to anybody else. If you can't talk to your mom about money, you're never going to talk to anybody else. It becomes this grab for what you have. Okay? So my job is to release the fingers so that people are comfortable to talk about what they have to get to what they want. We are closely grabbing money because money is a tool. Let's not forget that. It is a tool that allows us to do the things that we want to do. And so if I go and I take your tool, you automatically feel like you can't do what you want to do. Or if somebody knows too much about your money, they're going to take it and you can't do what you want to do. And that's really the mentality that we put around money. Whereas I tell everyone, you need a team. Like, if every individual could manage all their money, all themselves, my industry wouldn't exist. Banking wouldn't exist. There's so much that wouldn't exist. It exists because you need people that you can trust to help you go forward.
So when you're doing your work, when you get a new client, so basically, are you taking them like through a whole process of understanding financial literacy, or are you like just taking them through concept? Because the premise of the question is, how do your clients actually understand the work that you're going to be doing for them?
So everybody's different. So it's an independent conversation about where you are, where you want to be, what you've done, what you need to do. And that's going to be different from every person. So what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about who are you, what's important to you, what are the things that make you spend money, All right. That's the hardest thing to talk about with anybody. People will tell you, this is what I have in my bank account. They won't tell you, I care about this person over here who you don't know. And if something happens, I want money to go there. So step one is what's important. Because I can't build a true plan if I don't know what's important. Step two then moves on to, well, what do you have and how is it there? We look at, what do you have? Where is it located? How is it allocated? What's the tax implications? What do we need to do to make what you have do more for you? Step three is implementation. Implementation has many different looks and vibes depending on who you are and what we're implementing. And then you've got 4 and 5, where we're taking a look at, hey, every day we're moving and changing. So maybe there's some things that we need to move or some things that stay consistent. Now, financial literacy is all those steps. So the first step, well, finding out where you are, that allows me to come back and say, hey, I looked at your budget and you talked about this person here. I don't see them in that budget. Not just now, I don't see them in the 10, 20-year budget. Why not? So what does that look like when we readjust how your money is? What does that look like? And we start going down those roads and build those strategies. So then at the same time, financial literacy for someone maybe who inherited money is going to be completely different. We're going to be looking at what have they done with their money before you add on what you've inherited to understand a good foundation before you add on to it. So there's not one answer for financial literacy. It's depending on where you are in your stage, but the goal is still the same. Understand money, how it works and how you use it, and how we can help you move forward.
So can you tell us, how does community and culture play in the approach to money?
That's personal for every individual. There's some people who look at the community impact of their move.
You're frozen. Let me see about what we can do about this, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got some technical difficulties with the internet there with our connection. Mr. Haskins is not able to log back in, so I apologize. We were getting into the good part, but we'll have to pick this up where I will actually post again as to the date that we will have the reconnection for the part 2 of this show to continue with. I thank you all for your time, and I want to apologize for this mishap, but it's the technical difficulties. Thank you all for being with us, and I'll do a repost as to when we can get this show